Hey, I thought I'd do a quick test with this, just to stress test my new GPU. I didn't really talk about this on the channel, but a friend of mine helped me get an RTX 2070, or 2060 actually, which I think believe it's like a 50% power increase over the 1060. It's basically the new version of their budget model, or their budget line. I don't really play anything else that really requires anything more than this. But by the time that it does, those cards will be a lot cheaper. So I just wanted to see how it holds up while I'm recording. They have updated this game a few times since I last played it, but it just hasn't been anything really to warrant me coming back. It's pretty obvious they're working on the next game, whatever it may be. I don't really want to allocate resources to this anymore, which makes sense. I like how they kind of ended the DLC with this on a high note, because the weapons they added in this final batch are actually a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the game's still lacking in in-game content, so it kind of didn't really have much to use it on. Curious to see what they're doing next. They were updating this game pretty much every month since release, but it's been like maybe the past 3 or 4 months they haven't really added anything of note. Nothing that would like make you rush to update the game and come back, which is fine. I think they did a pretty decent job listening to the complaints. I am kind of upset though that they were talking about like adding a growth system and new gems and stuff, and that those things seemingly never came. They are still updating the game, so I assume it could happen, but I think that stuff just got quietly canned. I'm not really sure why. It takes a lot less effort to make like change some parameters around than it does to like declone a character or add a new weapon or something like that. I always felt that the DLC started off really bad and then got a lot better. But I think if they had a more consistent DLC quality and lower pricing from the start, then maybe they could have gotten more people to stick around. I think the first season pass is like the easiest one to skip out on because it has the least content and the new movesets aren't anywhere near as good as the ones in the other 2 seasons. But inconsistent DLC quality and pricing has been a major problem with Koei pretty much since last gen, you know, the inception of DLC to begin with. It's not surprising that it definitely affected this game. I mean, you got stuff like the DOA6 season pass being $100 and barely having any actual content. Kind of makes you appreciate this game. I mean, the DLC is expensive, but for the most part it does add some new elements. But the argument against it is that by the time anybody who actually wanted to like the game enough to buy the DLC, by the time it came out, people have already exhausted most of the content. I think the last few like end-game updates they did with like the tigers and the animals and stuff, I think that element could have been improved a lot more. And like the rewards for fighting them just weren't good enough, in my opinion. Seems to be holding up pretty well. It definitely is making my CPU struggle, but this game is well known for being poorly optimized. I think I just kind of brute forced the bad optimization. Lots of games like that though, where it's like it's not optimized to the point where it should run on like it should be, where it'll run well on pretty decent hardware as long as you tweak it a little bit. Usually what ends up happening is you just have to either brute force it like I did by just upgrading your computer. I did a pretty major upgrade. I didn't get like the best video card out there, but it's more than enough for my needs. I don't really think I'll need more than 6 gigs of VRAM for a while, and if I do, then I'm just gonna wait until the 8 gig models are cheaper. Yeah, seems to be holding up pretty well. I'll have to see how it looks in the video. It's just something fun. I'm not going to be playing this game anymore unless they randomly decide they want to keep supporting something that's dead. It has a bad reception despite their efforts to improve it. I just wanted to test this because this is like the most intensive game that I have. Pretty much everything else I play runs pretty much the same. It's just, I was able to turn more settings on, maybe have it be a little bit more stable. This is actually running quite a bit better. So I'll go ahead and show my settings as soon as it gives me back control. It's actually a pretty nice looking game once you have all the settings turned on, but like I said, the problem is getting to that point in the first place. Like, you need pretty decent components, and you have to tweak a lot of the things that really tank their performance, but if you get as much stuff on as you can, it actually does look like a very nice game. And having the frame rate actually stay consistent throughout big battles definitely helps too. Imagine if I got like an i9 or something, I could probably run this like max settings or something, but obviously it's a little late for that. Okay, so I'll show my settings right now. I don't know if I'll be able to use these if I ever decide to stream the game again. So 1080p, I have VSync on, which locks it at 60. And I have pretty much everything that matters maxed out. Like reflections and shadows tend to really tank the performance in anything. Ambient occlusion I've never really cared for. But I've got the peons on max and then graphic details maxed. And I just turned off a couple things like depth of field and particles. Particle effects is a massive performance drop in this game for whatever reason. There are some games that can handle a lot of particle effects, but this game just can't. Like if you go into a crowd with fire or something, the performance just tanks like crazy. So I might be able to leave all these on. Actually, let's go back in and see if I can leave it the way it is. Some of these settings like don't even matter. Like you can't even really tell what they do just due to the way the game's art style and everything. I think this is definitely one of those games where if you brag about it being on max settings, it probably wouldn't look that much different than somebody who had it with like half of that stuff turned off at the same resolution. I think this is a pretty good PC Master Race bragging game though, just because of how poorly optimized it is. A lot of the games people brag about for you know, how good their PC is they're far better optimized. You don't even really need a good PC to run those games to begin with. Yeah, it's definitely tanking a little more. Yeah, I don't even know what decal and tessellation are. Volumetric fog is another good one to turn off too. Like, makes absolutely no difference in what you're doing. So in terms of other games I tried, I'm able to run DMC5 with pretty much all the settings maxed, which is pretty awesome. I can run it at 1440p maxed and stable 60 FPS, but when I stream it definitely tanks things a little bit more, since streaming actually does take more processing power. Seems to be pretty solid. Well, I guess the takeaway from this is that if they continue to use this engine, which I assume they will because they've been using the same ancient engine for like 10 years now, if they don't, in the event that they don't bother to do any more optimization so that you don't need like a quantum powered PC to play their games, then it looks like I'm pretty much in the clear right now with what I currently have, which is all I'm really trying to do here is just future-proof my stuff. And this was always the game I had the most trouble running. I usually had to run it at like 720p with almost everything turned off. I definitely preferred having a more stable 60 FPS over the graphics. And now you can see I have pretty much everything that matters on. The other stuff, I can't even tell you what that does to the graphics. It's probably like a very minimal difference. But performance definitely matters. So in the event that I ever do play this game again, it definitely should look nicer for you guys. Anyway, that's it. It's probably the last time I'll be playing this for the foreseeable future, unless they decide to do more in-game updates and stuff. But yeah, seems like this new PC build is actually working quite well. Probably the next thing I'll need to upgrade is maybe the CPU or the RAM, but both of those things are pretty cheap now, at least in terms of the upgrade path for my i5. If I decide I need a little bit more processing power, that should be easy to manage. Thanks for watching. Peace.